are they late to Bitcoin? Is it too late to buy Bitcoin, Fred, and benefit from it?
I mean, we're super early. We're very, very early. I mean, this is like we're at the beginning of probably a 20-year journey of massively high returns. It's going to be, we're going to have massively high returns for 20 or maybe even 30 years. Now, that's basically, I think, where we are. So, you're nowhere, you're at the beginning.
Bitcoinzilla stands out with its simplicity and clarity. We've crafted an experience that anyone can dive into, whether you're a crypto expert or just a new to the crypto world. Now, guess who keeps his eye on us? The author of best-selling book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. And we want to take this opportunity and thank all the people who trusted us, and we read every comment. And the best part, it's free. Subscribing now means you will get all new information for free. Don't just follow the trends, stay ahead of them. Subscribe to Bitcoinzilla today and enjoy the new edge. In this video, we'll dive into the terrifying world of Fred Krueger, the nightmare-inducing villain who haunts dreams and brings fear to life. Let's catch him up to know more.
I would say 1 Bitcoin, If you can get to 1 Bitcoin, that's great, Now, that's easier said than done. I mean, like, I used to be a starving Stanford grad student, eating top ramen and drinking wine from bottles with screw tops, and so 100 grand sounds like a lot of money when you're poor, but I would say 1 Bitcoin, if you're in your under 30, you got 30 years to retire. 1 Bitcoin in 30 years will be enough for you to retire, I think. So I think just one Bitcoin is the answer. And, by definition, only 21 million people in this entire planet will ever get to 1 Bitcoin. And probably a lot less than that, right? So, it may be as little as 5 million people will ever get to 1 Bitcoin. Right now, you have about 1 million people who are at 1 Bitcoin. And I think the number, the sort of the max, I would say, is 5. I would say, yeah. So I think if you're in your 40s or something, you don't have that kind of time frame. So I think the number there is more like 10 Bitcoin. Again, you still need to kind of hold on to it for a while, and if you're in your 50s or 60s, I mean, somewhere around 30, 40 Bitcoin, I think, is kind of what you really need. You know what I mean? It's not 10 anymore, right? 10's a little cutting it a little close. If you're 50 or 60, I think. And so, even if you're talking about borrowing against whatever, I think those are the ranges, I would say.
Yeah, and.
Do you agree with that, Nico, or what do you?
I 100% agree, because, with 30 years, let's say Michael Saylor's base case, not even his bull case, right? His 21-year prediction, well, now 20-year prediction is $13 million per coin by the year 2045. And
I mean, I just like to think of it in broad amounts. Bitcoin 1 million, Bitcoin 10 million, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. When are we going to get to Bitcoin 1 million? I would say probably 10 years from now, somewhere between 5 years from now. I mean, there's some people saying this year, right? It's possible, right? But somewhere, I would say, somewhere in the 5 to 10 range, right? I think that's kind of the likelihood for 1 million. Where are we going to get to 10 million? Probably around 20 years from now, you're going to get to 10 million. It might be 30 years from now, right? So that kind of time range. And that's kind of what the power law tells you, right? So the power law quantifies this stuff very well for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, and I agree with that assessment 100%. And
so if you're under 30, you got 30 years. So,
yeah,
you really need to think of it. The one thing you don't want to do is touch that Bitcoin. Like, you really want to put that thing in a vault and have it time locked for 30 years almost. That would almost be the best scenario for you.
Bitcoin tumbled on Friday as President Trump's administration confirmed the imminent rollout of tariffs on China, Mexico, and Canada. The digital currency fell below $101,600, marking a nearly 3% drop in just 24 hours. This sudden dip comes after a strong rally earlier in the week when Bitcoin neared its all-time high of $108,780. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt announced the tariffs during a press briefing, stating that Mexico and Canada will face 25% tariffs, while China will see 10% levies. The new policies, set to take effect on Saturday, have rattled financial markets, sending shockwaves through the cryptocurrency sector. Market analysts suggest that these tariffs could indirectly strengthen the U.S. dollar, putting pressure on Bitcoin and other digital assets. The Federal Reserve is closely monitoring these policy shifts, as officials have previously warned that achieving their 2% inflation target may prove difficult under Trump's trade policies. Investors fear that protectionist tariffs could restrict liquidity in the markets, affecting alternative investments like cryptocurrency. According to Juan Leon, a senior strategist at Bitwise, these measures may slow capital flows, causing investors to rethink their positions in digital assets.
Yeah, and let me ask you something else, Fred. How much Bitcoin, regardless of age, today, if you wanted to retire and live a upper class lifestyle in one of the, global world cities, how much Bitcoin do you think you would need to retire today, essentially, to live that lifestyle? Because you and I both know, the cost of living in LA, Miami is like, you go to a bar, it's $40 a drink, right? That's the norm. I know it's very
going up. It's not going down.
Yeah. That's the norm. I grew up with that when I was, when I was going out and, my early 20s, late teens, it was $25 per drink. So nothing's really changed. It's just it's South Beach, right? LA, I'm sure it's something very similar. I would say New York is similar as well. I love New York City, my favorite city in the world. And like my original question, how much Bitcoin would you need to retire to live, in your opinion, to live in one of those big cities? And this isn't just the United States. Like, let's say Europe, the great cities in Europe. I love Madrid.
I posted something on the, I'm trying to figure out exactly. I sort of said, what if I just decided to live in the absolute top of the line lifestyle? Okay, what would that involve? Okay, I would say, I sort of asked ChatGPT. I said, help me out here, and it said, great. Okay, well, that lifestyle would involve staying at 5-star hotels, like Four Seasons equivalent, 100 nights a year.
Yeah.
Okay. 100 nights a year, and then first class travel to, to trips all over the place. 100, equivalent of 1/3 of the time. You're flying to Paris, to Tokyo. You're staying in the best hotels ever, right? You've got personal assistant. You got somebody picking you up at the airport. Everything, right? That's the peak lifestyle, right? And ChatGPT came back and said, what was the number? I should get the post, but it was sort of like, about $1 million a year, ball or $500,000 to $1 million a year, or $1 million a year, right? Whatever. Let's just say $1 million a year, right? So my point is, if you just backtrack that, okay, well, you got to spend $1 million a year. Well, okay, it's actually next year, which is the biggest problem to your thing, right? Because if you say right now, let's say you start with 100 Bitcoin, right? Well, 100 Bitcoin is $10 million, right? Okay. And okay, well, you're going to peel off 1/10 of it in year one. But how much are you going to peel off in year two? Well, potentially you're only going to peel off, a 20 or 30th of it in year two, right? And you can borrow against it. So, 100 Bitcoin should be more than it's sufficient for you to live pretty much at the peak, This is like within a couple, right? And including education for your kids, private nanny, whatever you want, right? Now, you're not going to have sailor's yacht. You're not You're not going to get the Sailor House, right? You're not going to get the Palm Beach or the Aspen, mountain chalet on top of it. So you're not getting those things. But just from a pure lifestyle, 100 Bitcoin, pretty much over 100 Bitcoin, there is no hotel chain that's going to give you a better experience. The Four Seasons is it,
Yeah.
That's it. That's the peak, And I stayed at the Four Seasons in Miami. Beautiful place, I love, and, I stay there just now. Great. Doesn't get any better than that, So I would say, look, so if 100 Bitcoin gives you the absolute peak lifestyle forever, starting now, well, maybe you scale it down from there to like 30 Bitcoin or 25 Bitcoin. You should be able to live off that today, right? And so, now, of course, all this stuff is easier said than done because you have to have this crazy belief in Bitcoin and not panic sell it at the absolute worst point, which, I think that's kind of why we do these podcasts, I think, is basically to persuade ourselves, that this kind of worldview that we have is not complete insanity.
Bitcoin has made history, closing its first ever six-figure monthly candle at $102,400 on Bitstamp. This remarkable milestone came despite a late pullback due to macroeconomic turbulence, solidifying Bitcoin's place above the $100,000 mark. The final hours of January saw market volatility increase as U.S. President Donald Trump confirmed tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China, impacting both traditional and crypto markets. Wall Street stocks initially climbed before tumbling by the end of the trading session. Sentiment among investors wavered, as reflected in the Fear and Greed Index. Despite these fluctuations, market analysts remained optimistic. Axel Kebar dismissed bearish concerns, pointing out that a true market top is usually accompanied by extreme euphoria. Similarly, crypto strategist Michael van de Poppe reassured investors that short-term corrections would not derail Bitcoin's overall upward trajectory. Adding to the excitement, pseudonymous analyst Plan B updated the Bitcoin stock-to-flow model, marking the most intense phase of the current bull cycle with a red dot on the BTC/USD chart. Historically, February has been one of Bitcoin's strongest months, boasting an average return of 14.4%. A similar performance this year could see Bitcoin's price soar to around $117,000. CryptoRank CEO Fedor Matveev noted that previous post-halving Februaries have led to significant price rallies, fueling anticipation for another bullish month. Rekt Capital reinforced this sentiment, citing that 8 of the last 12 Februaries have delivered double-digit gains. Historical data from CoinGlast further supports this trend, with Bitcoin surging 61% in 2013, 23% in 2017, and 36% in 2021 during post-halving years. With February traditionally favoring strong gains in Bitcoin showing resilience amid economic headwinds, traders and investors are preparing for what could be another historic month for the leading cryptocurrency. And do not forget to subscribe to Bitcoin Seller. The most important news will reach your inbox on a daily basis and for free. I do not know why you have not subscribed yet. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more daily updates. Remember, knowledge is power, and we're here to empower you on your financial journey. Until next time, happy investing.